Hey, Sam.
Hi, Bev. I was worried that it was not going to make a good noise.
I could hear it building up, and I was like, uh-oh, what is that
Uh-oh.
noise?
Uh-oh.
I was like, something doesn't sound right.
It's the sound of celebration. That's what that is.
Oh my gosh, it is the sound of celebration because today is our 1 year podcast anniversary.
Woo! We made it. Yay.
So what you drinking over there?
So I just popped open an Andre, which is California sparkling wine. So it's, not champagne, but we can pretend. It's my favorite cheap, bubbly wine, and it is the Spumante, so it is the sweet one. And it's peachy and kind of has some honey taste in it. So, yeah, I thought it was perfect for the occasion. What are you drinking over there?
So I'm drinking a Sightline, which is a Brut IPA, which
Ooh,
is a champagne IPA
fancy.
from Yellow Springs Brewery.
And where is Yellow Springs Brewery at?
So Yellow Springs is about an hour or so northwest of here.
Okay.
Um, and Yellow Springs is a really cool, like fun and funky town in Ohio. And it's actually where Dave Chappelle lives.
No way.
Yeah.
I
Fun
had
fact.
no idea.
Yeah. Remember when he like fell off the radar and was hiding from everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. He moved to Yellow Springs.
If you want to fall off the face of the earth, just move to Ohio.
Yeah. I mean, it totally works. But we were at the brewery yesterday and they just happened to have this Brut IPA on tap. And I told my husband, I'm like, you have to get me a growler of that because tomorrow is our 1 year podcast anniversary and I have to be drinking champagne for it. But I don't like champagne or have any champagne. But a champagne IPA, I can handle that.
Fair enough.
So welcome to We Drink and We Farm Things.
Yeah, that's Bev.
And that's Sam over there.
And this is the farm comedy podcast that is happy hour for your ear holes.
We like to drink adult beverages, talk about farming things, and we give zero clucks about not having the perfect farm life.
Heck yes. So, not that we don't want our farms to be full of good things all the time, but the realities of farm life aren't always rainbows and sunshine.
We like to keep it real with you and have discussions that include the mistakes we make, new knowledge we gain. We try to entertain the heck out of you, and sometimes we go off on tangents that are not farming related.
Yes, and speaking of tangents, we record our tangents and stick them up on Patreon. So this week we did actually record a BS session and we talked about all sorts of random stuff. So if you're interested in hearing about some non-farming stuff, go to patreon.com/drinkandfarm and anybody can listen to that.
Yeah, you don't have to be a Patreon supporter to listen, but if you want to become a Patreon supporter, that is where you do it. And when you become a Patreon supporter, you get access to all sorts of episode outtakes and fun things that get uploaded up there, maybe some images. We do several neat things. And we also send out thank you gifts to our Patreons that are the $5 level and above.
Right. So if you want in on the next gift, that's going to go out in early April. In active patrons that are charged on 4/1 will be able to get a gift in April. So if you're not a patron at the $5 above level, you still have time to go do that. So go to patreon.com/drinkandfarm, check it all out, and that'll actually help send us to Coop Camp this year. So we're really excited that we can, give you guys a little gift and it'll help us go to Coop Camp.
Yeah, and while we're at Coop Camp, we're planning on bringing all sorts of neat stuff to you guys, our listeners. We're teaching a workshop while we're there, and we're planning on recording it. We're going to record a live episode. We'll probably do a few things while we're in our hotel rooms there, all sorts of fun stuff. So we're going to do our best to sort of bring you to Coop Camp with us, even if you can't really be there in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Physically.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Patreon, our drinks this episode are sponsored by Ashley Kiernan. So cheers, lady.
Cheers. Woo. I think Was she our first drink sponsor?
Yes.
And she's still with us.
I know.
Wow. I'm glad we're not totally screwing this up then. We have some committed listeners. That feels good for year one.
It really does. I don't know what the stats are on podcasts that make it to a year.
Oh, yeah. I don't know either.
But to put out a podcast like what we do here, I mean, we have a lot of fun and we're not like crazy serious or anything, but we are serious about putting out a quality podcast. And that takes time and commitment and research and learning how to do stuff. So I imagine that a lot of people burn out.
Oh, yeah.
But
well, and I think you have to be kind of obnoxiously relentless to keep up with it, especially I feel like you, because you do all the editing. And that was a completely new skill set that you learned just for this. And what if you like hated that, you know? So I'm grateful that you've done it and you've embraced it. And hopefully we can like offload that from you someday. Just because, you know, you're busy, I'm busy, like we could all use more time, right?
right.
So hopefully maybe that'll be on our wish list. Maybe we should add that on Patreon.
Well, it is added on our Patreon wish list.
Oh.
Once we reach a specific Patreon goal, we will pass off the editing to somebody that really knows what they're doing. And they'll probably do a better job than I do. But I have gotten better as the years gone on.
That's okay though, because it won't be your problem anymore. So
exactly.
So let's recap a little bit of like our achievements from this year, because one of the things we talked about in the BS was about kind of, you know, the line of like humble bragging and the line of like, you know, legitimately kind of bragging about like your accomplishments or things that you're proud of. Like, it's kind of funny. You guys should go listen to it on the Patreon. But I think it's, you know, not a bad thing for us to highlight our accomplishments from the past year.
Yeah, so this is bragging, but it is bragging in sort of a way. It's also being thankful because like there are a ton of people we couldn't have done this without. But in the first year, we recorded 52 episodes.
Woo! That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, we made it every single week. We also recorded 12 mini-sodes, and 10 of those were interviews with fabulous people that were so willing to open up about their stories and their companies and deal with some technical difficulties sometimes, like poor Brad. We tried that interview a few times, but
yeah.
You know, farm Wi-Fi is not always the greatest. So, you know, we had to, you know, push through some struggles to get some of that content to you, but it was totally worth it.
Yeah, and over the year, we have gained 16 patrons, which is amazing. There are 16 people out there that think this podcast is good enough that they give us a few dollars of theirs per month, which is pretty humbling.
And then there's a small subset of that 16 that pay $15 a month to sponsor our beverages every month.
Yeah.
Which is like super crazy. Like, thank you for keeping our buzz going.
Literally.
Yeah. Yes, we appreciate that.
And we made it to one beer festival.
Yes, we met each other at a beer fest, which is just totally appropriate. It would have been a second one. It would have been 2 beer fests probably if I would have planned my, you know, goats being pregnant better.
Yeah, I saw that Brittany from the Little White Coop was there last weekend. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, we would have been there with her. But
I know. But yeah, so we also had some really great sponsors. We've had 4 this year: Henny and Rue, Grubbly Farms, First Saturday Lime, and Missy Mildred. So that's really encouraging to have just set sponsors that keep coming back and keep supporting us in every way that they can. We can't thank them enough. And I really love that our sponsors for the first year were all small businesses. So we could support and lean on each other and help us all grow during this past year.
Yeah, and it was really great to have sponsors that we really enjoyed on a human level, but also that just make kick-ass things.
Oh,
Like all of
yeah.
these sponsors, their things are amazing. So if you haven't had a chance to
Yes.
check any of them out, please do. You'll be doing yourself a favor.
Yes. I've been liming like crazy lately because in the goat stall or in the maternity wards, like because they're consuming so much more food and water now because they're producing milk, like that lime has been a lifesaver for like soaking up ammonia because we've just been doing deep litter in there. So I like kind of move everything around, shuffle it around a little bit, sprinkle the lime, and then it's like smells so much better. And then that fresh layer of hay, everybody's happy.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and then Grubley's Farms, obviously, our chickens would have permanent resting beak face without it, you know?
Oh yeah. And this morning I was making scrambled eggs for breakfast and I used my little Henny and Rue egg scrubber. And I'm like, see, just like some of my everyday little
Yes,
things that I've gotten in my boxes have become some of my favorites. And those are things that I wouldn't have necessarily like picked up if I had seen them at a store.
right.
But they definitely make my life easier.
Oh, in Messy Mildred, I can't live without the shampoo now for messy poo butts. Like,
Oh yeah.
it smells good. I feel good about using it. And it's literally just like right by the laundry room sink now, so I don't even have to go look for it in the bathroom in
That's
case
where I
we have
keep
a
mine
poop
too. It's
emergency.
just lined up right where they need to be so that if I have to scrub
Yes.
anybody, it's already ready.
Yes.
I mean, and I don't know if you've ever smelled a chicken, but don't
Oh,
unless you've
don't.
just given them a bath with Messy Mildred.
Right. Especially like with the salty egg bombs, if you have that going and you have like the lemongrass, it's like, shoot, I don't even treat myself this good.
I know. Oh.
Yeah, so we've been super fortunate to have sponsors that we believe in, that we obviously use all the time. And we're super excited to meet some of them at Coop Camp. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we're excited to get to meet some of you guys. And
By then it'll be almost like a year and a half. Like we'll be approaching a year and a half by the time Coop Camp rolls around.
you're right. So you guys at least got, a few more months of this podcast, no
Yeah.
matter what. But basically, all of this to say thanks for being here
Yeah.
and thanks for listening.
And thanks for, being kind to us and participating in things like our Facebook group and our Instagram, and creating the community that, just keeps us going. I mean, I don't know if we'd be as excited to record every week if we didn't have the community behind it. I mean, I love talking to Bev, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah, we would
it's like,
probably just talk on the phone instead because of
yeah,
all the work that goes into a podcast.
like the research and the editing and then the pictures and
Yeah, the
Bev
show
learning
notes.
all
And,
sorts of
yeah.
Facebook ad things for fun and yeah, be dealing with the Instagram algorithm.
Yeah.
We do it all for you.
We do. So we don't have any corrections from last week. Oh, wait. Just kidding. I have a correction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forgot to write it in the notes. I have a correction. So last week I said that I had been to Marble Brewing Company at the Green Jeans Farmery in New Mexico. That's not Marble Brewing that's in there. It's Santa Fe Brewing. So
Oh,
I've been to a
whoops.
different New Mexico brewery. Santa Fe brews pretty awesome beer also. So I wanted to correct that though, just in case anybody from New Mexico listened and was like, Bev, that was so wrong. So
Just in
wrong.
case they called bullshit on you.
Yeah, I would like to call bullshit on myself first. Thank
There
you
you
very
go.
much.
There you go. That's
One minute
fair.
I'm bragging, the next minute I'm calling bullshit on myself. Hashtag podcast life.
Hashtag authentic drinking farm life.
There we
I don't know
go.
where I was going with that. But,
Hashtag-
homestead humble brag.
Hashtag it's okay to be wrong.
Yes. Exactly.
But has Diana ended that hostage situation yet? We're to the follow up. We're at follow up corner.
Yes, she has. Freaking finally. And it was on the original due date of February 28th, just like I thought, which means I did witness the conception at my stepdaughter's birthday party.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I saw it happen. What's funny is like that day, it was a Thursday, so I was in office for my big kid job, and I'd kept an eye on her quite a bit from the webcam app on my phone because I was like, I mean, she's still eating. She was laying down a lot, but yeah, she's been doing that for about a week. She'll do like the sit up thing where she's like sitting, and goats don't normally sit.
Yeah.
You just know that they're freaking over it if they're sitting, but it's so cute. With their udders, it's so cute. So I checked at like 5:30 p.m. before I left the office, and she was eating. She was being lazy, so I was like, "Screw it, I'm gonna go out with my work friends," because there were some of us that wanted to go out, for just some after work beverages and some food. So I, initially told my husband, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to go out for a little bit." I pulled into the driveway at 9:30.
I love happy hours like that.
Yeah. And then I put on comfy pants, and then I look at the iPod that has the webcam up 24/7, and I yelled, "Oh my God, there's a baby." And she's like standing up cleaning a baby. And I ran back to the bedroom, threw on my jeans and a hoodie, and checked the camera again. And oh my God, there's another baby. So I don't know if it was hiding the first time I checked or if she had the second one like standing up. Everybody's different in the way they give birth, including animals. So I don't know. So she did a really good job getting them cleaned up, but it was pretty cold. So I helped a bit with towels. She ended up giving us a boy and a girl. Thank God. They're pretty cute. But yeah, like I said, it was really cold and everyone's a little different. And Diana's personality is so much different than Maya's. So I just kind of kept an eye on her. She was super focused on cleaning them up and didn't really want them nursing too quickly. I think because I don't know if she like sensed that with how cold it was important to get them dry right away. But I sat there for quite some time and tried to help facilitate the nursing because Diana has what we call supernumerarey teats, which means she has extra teats. These can also be referred to as spurs or split or antler teats or fishtail teats. So I was a little concerned with how the kids would handle it. So I made sure I saw them nurse a few times before I went back to the house. But they did get the hang of it, and they both had milk mustaches. So I knew they got plenty. And I'm still watching them nurse quite a few times a day. And I'm sure Diana is like thrilled with how close my face is to that situation. Because the way like Diana has it, it's like the split. So if the doeling can't, or the buckling can't like create suction around the actual teat, that can be a problem with nursing. So that's why I got my face all up in there.
Oh yeah, just like human nursing.
Right.
Yeah, suction is required.
Right. So there's a few different ways this teat thing can work. So sometimes it's like a third teat, or extra teats can come from a recessive trait that comes with the territory of working through a lot of genetics. Some bloodlines are more prone to throwing them than others. And then it could also be problems in that are environmental, occurring during the first trimester, if that doe is exposed to some toxins. It is also possible for the buck to pass toxins with his semen, if exposed to them during the 6 weeks before breeding a doe. And also medications can cause that problem as well. So you want to avoid medications when possible, when there's breeding, like when you're planning for breeding or during the first trimester if possible. So I'm not sure if Diana has them from genetics or from toxins or from medications. It's probably not seen by like reputable breeders to have bred her as like a responsible thing. But it was our personal choice to give it a go. Obviously the ideal goat has 2 correct goat teats that are clean. They're not deviant, because that's best for milking, right? And it's also important for dam raising kids, like we mentioned before with the whole suction thing. So does with the extra teats may or may not have less function or no function in the extra teats. A weaker kid might be forced to teat, or a single kid may get fixated on it when it's not completely functional. So that's another reason why you gotta keep an eye on them. Kids can actually die from getting distracted by the non-functioning teat and thinking that if they suck long enough that there'll be food coming out of it, which is why I watch for like the milk mustache and listened, and I feel their bellies to make sure they're full every time I go out there. So it's important that to even note though that even a 2-teated doe can have a blind teat. So even if your goat doesn't have extra teats, they could still have one that isn't producing or functioning the way it should be.
Which is crazy. I had no idea that that was a possibility. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that, is it supernumerarey?
Yeah, I think it's supernumerarey.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I didn't realize that there was a word for it. I knew that she had a defect of some kind in her teat, but I didn't know that there was like documented and something that wasn't necessarily like, it's probably not crazy common, but it sounds like it happens.
Yes, it does. And I found a lot of this information on the internet, but there's going to be a link in the show notes to Countryside Network article where a guest blogger came on and talked about it. And I thought she did a really good job of summarizing some of the issues. For instance, not only could there be extra teats that aren't functional, sometimes they are functional and they have excess orifices or excess holes. You can actually have 2 orifices on the end of one teat. So it's not just like the number of teats, it's how many holes that teat has. And you really got to watch it with that because that can cause a mastitis problem because there's more like, it's just extra space for them to get dirt or manure packed in there.
Yeah, which would cause an infection. And
Right.
New goat mamas can die from mastitis.
Right.
So it's a very serious infection.
Right. So it's really important to be just keeping an eye on everything in the udders, and it doesn't hurt. Like, I'm not milking right now because I'm just letting the babies have everything. Obviously, if I could tell Maya or Dinah were uncomfortable because they're not eating enough to offload all the milk from them, I would start. But everybody seems pretty happy right now. I haven't actually been able to really investigate too closely Diana's teats to see if like I'm able to milk them both. I was looking yesterday and I'm pretty sure the spurs don't even have a hole. I think they're just kind of like, a genetic defect kind of thing or whatever that just kind of gives an extra look of a teat, but it's not functional.
Yeah.
I've tried to mess with them. She's not a fan. She's going to be a joy on the milk stand. But she definitely has like the split teat set up because split teats are like really close together, whereas like fish teats are said to be within an inch or 2 of the bottom of the teat. And that one can be really difficult for the kids because like they're not super close together. So the kids like can get really confused and fixated. So you really gotta just keep an eye on them. I'm sure a lot of serious breeders wouldn't have bred her. So if you have a doeling or a doe that you're thinking about breeding and she has a teat deformity, just like really think it through before you do it. And the amount of like care that's gonna go into that and extra paranoia that you might have, like me. I'm back to watching the webcam in the middle of the night. I'll just wake up and check. So I can't complain though. She's doing a really great job. The goats have seemed to get the hang of the spur teat thing. It's like, how many times can Sam say teat?
I'm going to drink every time you say teat.
Ooh,
how's
like
that?
Moist? Like we did with Moist?
Moist teat?
Yeah.
That was horribly inappropriate.
I wasn't even phased.
Love it. Love it.
But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. So, you'll 'cause she had a buckling and a doeling,
Mm-hmm.
and will you try to milk her? Will it be harder to milk her because of her teat deformity, or do you think like after this, you'll let her dry up and not breed her anymore and not mess with it?
I don't know. It could be a little more difficult. I'm not too worried with it, other than her just being jumpy and that sort of thing. When I try to mess with her udder now, um, but I think we'll just kind of play it by ear. We'll see how the female doeling turns out. It'll be interesting. I haven't really gotten a chance to investigate her situation because she's so tiny. The
Yeah.
boy is definitely like bigger than her. I'm sure he's the one that I felt the hoof in Diana's ribs quite a bit. He's a little big. But yeah, I'm just gonna kind of play it by ear and see. I've already been thinking about like introducing a new doe to the flock or to the herd. So we can like mix up the genetics a little bit. And I'm still on the fence. Like obviously I'm gonna keep Waffles from the first round. I want to keep, and I might keep both of these. I don't know. I'd keep them all if I could.
Right.
But I'm just playing it by ear right now. My husband asked me, so when are you gonna get rid of some of these?
Oh.
Or are you gonna sell these? And like I wasn't even like in that headspace when he asked me that I like wanted to cry. I was like, I can't think about that right now with everything going on at work. It just kind of like spiraled. I didn't actually like cry, but I could have.
Yeah.
So it's emotional because it's the first time on the farm, and I even feel a different bond with the first three than I do these two. Because I was actually there for the first one. The second one was like, yeah, I ran outside, but they were already like out and about when I got to the barn. Ooh, another thing I didn't mention, kind of off topic. So Maya delivered her placenta pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And she ate the whole thing.
Good to know.
And it was so large.
Ooh.
She did kind of choke a little bit. So you want to watch it when they're eating the placenta because they can choke. So she kind of like gagged a little bit. And then so I like put gloves back on so like I could pull it out of her if I had to.
Yeah.
But it's not pretty.
No, placentas aren't pretty. I saved mine.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we talked about it in Drinking Lime. We talked about all sorts of stuff in that episode.
Yeah, so that was interesting, but my husband kind of came in and watched, and I was like, yep, it's happening, but I'm not going to not watch because I want to make sure she's okay eating it. I don't want to stop it because it's good for her. I know some breeders will remove the placenta from the doe. Like once it's obviously out of the doe, they just take it so she can't eat it because they can't choke, I guess. But so I just supervised.
Yeah, on my hippie farm, she's gonna eat it.
Yeah, it was very stringy. Yeah, it's just interesting because like Diana's wasn't as big, I want to say.
Well, it wasn't like as intact, right?
Yeah. She definitely like ate it, but it wasn't like as intact. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So it wasn't like as obvious, whereas like Maya probably looked like Diana. I'm mixing your
like
goats
a vampire.
Up. Yeah, Diana probably looked like she was like eating a steak.
Yeah, she was like a freaking zombie.
Yeah.
I almost took pictures. I should have took pictures and sent them to you because you probably would not have been offended by those.
No, I would not have been offended by them at all. I would have been totally fascinated. Like I think the things that animals do, I'm always fascinated with them because they do them for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
not that
it was like no big deal to her.
Yeah.
She's just like, I'm going to eat this thing. I'm going to clean off these kids. It's not a big deal.
Not that animals don't have thoughts, because that's like not what I want to say whatsoever. But they aren't burdened with like whatever the string of consciences that we have that like makes us question everything. Like they do things with instinct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it in your instinct to eat your placenta? I mean, I know you did. You like put it in pill form.
Yeah.
But, you know.
It was not in my instinct. I did it because I heard that there were benefits to taking it, like that it could help like increase milk production and also
Okay.
help with like your hormonal changes and issues. And I was nervous about both of those
Oh.
things. So I thought like, well, this is something that came out of my body. And I don't know, I was a little grossed out to just eat it. Not everybody's going to be, but I thought
Right.
dehydrating it and putting it in pill form was acceptable. And I still have some in my freezer.
I feel
Yeah.
like I could handle that
Yeah.
if I did it that way. But
Well, it's just like taking a supplement.
yeah, the way I saw it come out of her, I'm like, nope, there's no way I could just take the raw product and like cook it up. Nope, not for me. Kudos to anybody that does that though. Like, you're a badass. I am not.
Well, and I even had it imprinted like on like paper. So I have it
Oh,
as like a piece of art. I haven't hung it anywhere though. It's just like in my closet. I'll show it to you when you come and visit me.
please do. I want to see it. Jessica from First Saturday Lime will be so jealous.
You know what? We'll take a selfie with it and send it to her, and she's gonna be like, "What is this?"
She's gonna love it. Grubblies from Grubbly Farms is the official choice of treat for our flocks.
Grubblies are safer for your flock because they're oven dried and made in America.
And Grubblies have 50% more calcium than other chicken snaps. Mealworms. And this means it'll help your ladies have tougher eggshells.
They're also packed with protein, so that means healthier, shinier feathers.
Now that's what I call a guilt-free snack.
And did you know that you can buy your Grubblies in bulk and you can subscribe and save 10% every time without needing to remember to log in and order?
Yes, we love the treat tank that holds 5 pounds of Grubblies, and it's essential that we never run out or the whole flock will have a case of rusting beak face.
So keep your treat tanks full with a subscription. They always ship free and save you 10%. And you can skip a month or cancel at any time.
So head over to grubblyfarms.com and use code FARM15 to save 15% off your first order or the first month of your subscription. Now it's time to learn about gardens. That was my intro to your section of the podcast to enlighten me about your gardens.
About my gardens. I don't know anything about my gardens either, but I will give this a stab.
Woo! I'm excited.
So I'm sheet mulching a section of my garden.
What's that?
It is a permaculture practice.
Okay.
And it is a no-dig gardening technique that attempts to mimic the natural soil building process in forests. So think like layers.
Okay.
Sheet mulching has layers,
Okay. Like an onion.
like an onion or an ogre.
Yes, I'm so glad you got that.
And it's also known as composting in place. So basically what it does is it mimics the way that the forest creates its floor by breaking down the material from the topmost layer down.
Okay.
And the simplest form of sheet mulching consists of starting a bottom layer of a decomposable material, so like cardboard or newspapers or something to that effect. They act as a weed barrier. That's what this first layer is for.
Oh, okay.
It helps to kill anything that's already under there. So you don't even necessarily have to dig up what's under there. Sheet mulching is a really common practice that's used when you want to turn a section of lawn into a garden bed.
Okay.
So you don't have to kill the grass. You just put down a bunch of cardboard on top of the area that you don't want to have grass anymore. And it dies. Ta-da!
Yes. You know how else grass will die? If you put a chicken coop in a spot for a long enough time, like one of the movable ones.
Yes.
Yeah, that works pretty great too. I found even with all the chicken shit, it still dies.
Yeah, and you know what else works when your chickens just like keep kicking all of your sheet mulch and compost out of your sheet mulch garden onto the grass? Yeah, the grass doesn't like that either.
Jerks.
Chickens ruin everything, but we love them.
Basically, yes.
So, Where was I? Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. So you start with your bottom layer of the decomposable material, and then you just top it with some sort of organic mulch. In my case, I used dirty straw from the barn and the
Okay.
chicken coop. But you can also use things like leaves or weeds that you've pulled from your garden or things that you've like raked up out of your lawn. You can throw all sorts of stuff on there. It's super, super, super not picky. And this can be used. So, in the notes I wrote, it's used to transform a variety of surfaces into fertile soil that can be planted in. And you can also put it on an area that's got like a ton of perennial weeds if you don't want the weeds to come back. You can just like sheet
Okay.
mulch the area and they won't come back. You'll have to keep pulling weeds out there eventually because once it turns into dirt, the seeds will blow over there and start growing again. You can help rehabilitate an area that has porous soil with sheet mulch.
Mm.
And you can even create a garden like on top of pavement or a rooftop with a thick enough layer of sheet mulch. So it's pretty versatile.
Oh, heck yeah, it is.
Yeah. And I kept it super simple. Like I said, I just used cardboard, dirty straw from the coop and barn, and I raked some leaves out of our yard. I didn't rake all the leaves out of our yard, like I'm sure my husband wished I would have, but I raked some of them.
You know.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
It's March. I don't know if I'm going to ever finish raking. I mean, at this point, come
Just
on.
mow it over. It's fine.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Mhm.
So our sheet mulch has kind of been a work in progress over the last several weeks because the area that we're sheet mulching is kind of large. So what I've been doing is I've just been saving boxes from shipments, and I'm using all the boxes, my First Saturday Line boxes, my Henny and Rue boxes, my Amazon boxes, anything that comes in a box that doesn't have that like shiny, like plasticky
Mhm.
colored material on the outside of it is getting sheet mulch. So I break the box down, lay it flat,
Okay.
stick it in the area that I'm sheet mulching,
Mhm.
and then I just throw some dirty straw on top of it.
Interesting. I might have to start doing that because I have so many boxes in the barn because we usually either like throw them out over time or reuse them or end up like if we're burning something we'll throw a couple in there. Um that would be a great way to like do that. So can you do this like in your garden beds out front too? This isn't just like regular like vegetable garden. Like you can do this anywhere in your yard, correct?
Yeah, you can do this anywhere in your yard that you want to. Now, one thing I would caution is that, so since ours has been kind of a work in progress for a while,
Mhm.
when I first started it, it was a little dry and it hadn't been raining much. So I put the cardboard down and then I threw the straw from the chicken coop on it.
Mhm.
And then it got windy.
I was wondering about that.
My husband had to go and chase all my cardboard down and put it back.
That's fantastic.
But now it's been raining a lot. So that's not a problem anymore.
Okay. Yeah, it's really damp here. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking that if I can do this fast enough, and we have a ton of hay and straw, like mixed from the barn, just sitting in the middle, like out back. So it's like this would be perfect.
Yeah, it totally
Two
would be.
problems taken care of.
Yes. And what's cool about it is, so, like the way that you're supposed to think about your consumption is like reduce, reuse, and then recycle. So
Hmm.
all of these cardboard boxes we would have put in the recycling. But by composting them, we're taking them just like out of the system and turning them into dirt
Hmm.
that's going to be used in our vegetable garden. So it is helpful in that way. I wouldn't just like order things in cardboard boxes just to get cardboard because there's tons of it all over the place.
Unless you have like an Amazon Prime problem like I do.
Yeah, I have an Amazon
Yeah.
Prime problem too. I've been working on that.
Just say it's for your garden.
There we
It's
go.
fine.
It works. It's totally fine. Um, yeah, and you can, if you live in an area that's drier, you can always use the hose to wet them down to help keep them down. But everything here is winterized. I would have to like take the hoses out and then use them and then re-winterize the hoses because
Yeah.
if they freeze inside, if water freezes inside, like the hose is basically toast and we have to get new ones. So
Yeah. You know what we need to do? We need to find a sponsor of like winterized hoses so they just send them to us.
Yeah.
Because like I've looked at them, but they're not cheap.
Oh, so there are hoses out there
There
that.
are.
Oh, I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, so if you guys have connections to that kind of thing,
Yes.
hook us up.
We could use that for sure. And the last thing that we're doing with it is the chickens are still free ranging right now. So the chickens are going to town, like scratching at it and like helping get like the bugs in the area where we're sheet mulching and pooping all over the sheet mulch area. So they're being very helpful. I have to re-rake all of the sheet mulch back into their square patch, but I mean, that's all right. They keep kicking it the wrong direction because they're chickens.
Right. They're not perfectionists. They're chickens.
No, they are not. And if you want, you can do more elaborate sheet mulching. It's called lasagna gardening. There's all sorts of recipes out there for it. But you can do like different layers of cardboard and newspaper, soil, other organic materials that'll break down. You can throw like some peat moss in there. You can some coconut core or whatever it's called. Like you can get super, super crazy with it and get a really nice fertile layer. But we have great soil here. It's not that the soil doesn't have good stuff in it. It's just that it's really clay and heavy, which isn't the greatest for roots. You know, they tend to get like moldy or bogged down from that. So we're lasagna gardening the square because we want to create a Three Sisters garden. So that's what we're putting in that area.
What is a Three Sisters garden? Or am I jumping ahead to your storytelling?
No, you're totally not jumping ahead. Elliot will just run right over there. So corn, beans, and squash are called the Three Sisters. And Native Americans always interplanted these trio because they thrive together, much like three inseparable sisters. So now settle in for story time. And all of this information that I got for this section is from almanac.com. And I will link to that in the show notes so that if anybody wants to go and read the stuff on that website and get just a little more info, you are more than welcome to. So by the time that European settlers arrived in America in the early 1600s, the Iroquois had been growing the Three Sisters for over 3 centuries. And these 3 vegetables sustained Native Americans both physically and spiritually because in legend, the plants were a gift from the gods, always to be grown together, eaten together, and celebrated together. And each of the sisters contributes something to the planting. So together, the Three Sisters provide a balanced diet from just one single planting.
Okay, interesting.
So as older sisters often do, the corn offers the beans much needed support. And the beans are the giving sister because they pull nitrogen from the air and bring it into the soil, which benefits all 3 of the plants. And as the beans grow through the tangle of squash vines and wind their way up the corn stalks into the sunlight, they hold all of the sisters close together. And the leaves of the sprawling squash protect all of them by creating a living mulch. So the living mulch shades the soil and keeps weeds from being able to grow in. And it also keeps their roots moist so that when it rains, the moisture gets trapped in and they don't all dry out.
Oh.
And the prickly squash leaves keep away raccoons because raccoons don't like to step on them.
I feel like a kid listening to story time right now.
Right?
This is so fascinating.
And what I liked most about that raccoon thing is one of our neighbors told us to never plant corn here because the raccoons will just eat it all.
Oh,
but
bastards.
When I came across this, I was like, oh, I think I have a solution. And together, all 3 of the sisters provide both sustainable soil fertility and a healthy diet for the people that consume them.
The end.
The end of story time. And now you can go grow your own Three Sisters garden, right? Was that all the info you needed?
Probably pretty close, huh?
I mean, kind of close. There are some other rules. It's not just all, fun and what's what I'm looking for? Being sentimental about sisters. So to plant a Three Sisters garden, what you'll do is you'll start with the corn and you will plant it after the danger of frost has passed. So what I'm going to do in our patch, I wish I would have measured it so that I could tell somebody how big it is. But I posted a couple pictures on Instagram, and as I keep going, I'll continue to post pictures so people can kind of see what we're doing. But I'm going to plant the corn into squares instead of straight rows.
Okay.
And I'm thinking like maybe 5x5 squares or like 4x5. I don't know. I haven't quite decided. I'm going to calculate how many seeds I really have that end up germinating. And then I'll figure out what my patch sizes are from there. So the reason why I'm planting my corn in squares rather than long rows is that the squares will help encourage proper pollination. Because like the bees and the pollinators can all get to the corn and the corn patch a little easier than they can like in a long skinny straight row.
Okay.
Yeah. And another reason why I'm doing it that way is because I'm planting a couple different varietals of corn.
Okay.
And when you're planting different varietals of corn, you need to plant them a few weeks apart to prevent cross-pollination.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So I have like Indian corn, glass gem corn, and sweet corn. And you don't want the sweet corn getting pollinated with the glass gem corn or the Indian corn because it won't be as sweet. It'll probably still be perfectly edible. But it'll definitely, it'll basically produce a different corn plant than it would be if they were all pollinated together. So by doing the 3 different planting times also, it'll help us succession plant the rest of the Three Sisters garden, so that I don't have to harvest like all the green beans at the same time and all the squash at the same time. Like I'll probably start with the sweet corn and then a patch of beans and then a patch of squash. And then just keep kind of working my way around the big patch that we have essentially. So then everything will be kind of, succession planted.
Yeah.
And what you'll do is after you've planted your corn, you'll wait until it's about 5 inches tall. And then you will plant your pole bean seeds. And then after your pole bean seeds have germinated and started to sprout up, you'll plant your squash seeds, and that'll take about a week or so. So then you've got your corn growing and steady enough to hold on to the beans as they start to wind their way up the corn stalk. And the beans will have already started growing so that they can reach the sunlight before the squash plant's big giant leaves come out and shade everything. And there you have it, a Three Sisters garden.
Ta-da!
Ta-da. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to go like totally hunky-dory like that. We'll run into a few issues and I'll probably step on some squash, like going out to harvest things. But
you'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. But it's going to be really fun to do something a little different. I was originally just going to stick with our garden beds that we have out there. But we have this big giant patch in the middle that we weren't doing anything with. And I thought we can totally sheet mulch that and turn it into a Three Sisters garden. Like if it fails, it's not going to be any uglier than it is right now because it's just a giant patch.
That's fair.
And I can always just throw some sunflowers out there if it starts getting real bad.
That's true. See, glass half full. Unlike my wine glass right now. That's
right.
Like half empty.
Half
that's okay.
empty. But that's okay that it's half empty because we're pretty much done with this.
Yeah. I mean, I did refill it like, 20 minutes ago. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I still have to do chores though. So that'll be fun. But yeah, I think it's time for some housekeeping.
Yes, it is. Coop Cape. Coop Cape?
Coop Cape? Cape Cod? Coop Cape.
Coop camp dates have been announced. June 7th through 9th. And you can register at fadedjeans.tv/coop-camp.html. And that will be in the show notes because there's no way you're going to remember that because I have to read it every single time.
Right. Especially if you're driving. Don't look it up while you're driving.
No, look it up when you get home. But register and come hang out with your favorite podcasters at Coop Camp.
We hope that's us. Otherwise, this is awkward.
Yes, the only podcasters at Coop Camp. No, we can't make that promise, Brad.
Yeah, we don't know that.
Don't invite any other podcasters. No, we're just kidding. We're happy to have other podcasters there.
And make sure you take our survey. That link will also be in the show notes. It's a great way for you to give anonymous feedback, and sometimes we implement that.
Yeah, we sure do. And join our Facebook group.
Yes, we have so much fun over there. That link will, guess what, also be in the show notes, but you can also just go to facebook.com and search We Drink and We Farm Things, and it should come right up for you.
And be sure and review us in all the places. And if you really like us, download the episodes when you listen and subscribe. We did just get a new iTunes review. So yay! Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, that was a surprise because we were just scrolling through the Apple iTunes and saw that and got like ridiculously excited.
We got excited far too easily.
Yes, it does not take much.
But I mean, that means that we're fun to hang out with, right?
I mean, I think so. Also, we sell merchandise. Sometimes I make really awesome things, and you can buy them over at drinkandfarm.com/shop. There's a lot of barware options over there, so make sure you go over and check that out.
And we also opened up a second merch shop, and it's drinkandfarmmerch.com. You can get shirts, hoodies, camping cups, a bunch of other cool stuff that Sam doesn't make.
Right.
And when you shop at either of our merch shops, it helps support the podcast. So thank you.
Yes. Yes. And if you haven't already, send us your farm stories. If you have a story from your farm you think fellow listeners could laugh at, learn from, or just warm their hearts, we want to hear it. So send those to us via DM on Instagram, or you can email them to drinkandfarm@gmail.com.
So I have a quick farm story to tell you.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, Orion, he's my 13-year-old, he is responsible for taking care of the chickens. He comes in and he's like, Stephen Rue Morris is being really mean to the hens. He keeps jumping on them and holding them down to the ground, and it looks really awful. And I'm like, kiddo, he's just mating with them. And he's like, huh? And I'm like, he's mating with them. He's 13. He's done sex ed. So like this farm thing, I'm trying to be like really casual about it. Because, you know, if I don't make a big deal out of it, then they won't make a big deal out of it, right?
Right. That's the hope anyways.
It really is. But I just told him that, like thinking, all right, you're going to get this. And it like light bulb moment, and you'll be like, okay, and it'll be good.
Yeah.
And then he looks and he's like, he's mating with them. Well, like, how does it work for chickens? And Aurora, she's 7. She's standing there. And I'm like, so I'm like, roosters don't really have all of the same anatomy as people do. I'm like, but basically, you know, they both just have vents and they do like this like vent touching thing, and that's it. And he like wanted all the details. And my 7-year-old is standing there and she's like, oh, so does this mean we're going to have baby chicks?
Aww.
And like, sort of. It's a little more complicated than that. But yeah. And then I like shoot a look at my 13-year-old. I'm like, we can talk more about this in detail later, but I cannot come up with like the proper words to use like on the fly like this. And I'm hoping that the look on my face is telling you that that's enough.
Did it work? Did the look work? Okay, good.
It worked. And it was funny. I was starting to think that maybe he was mistaken because I haven't really like seen anything happening. Then my husband's like, yeah, no, Stephen Rue Morris was mating with a hen in the doorway of our automatic coop door.
Oh.
And I'm like, yeah, that's not a good place for that.
He likes to get it. He's kinky.
Yeah, apparently he likes the danger.
High risk, high reward.
Right. And then I saw him doing it inside the coop finally. So I'm like, all right, our limping Stephen Rue Morris can do his job with the ladies.
He's getting it in. Look at
Yeah,
him
so
go.
I was pretty excited. And then when I was eating breakfast this morning or making breakfast this morning, I cracked the eggs and I go, we have fertilized eggs.
Aw, yay!
And everybody had to come look. I pointed
Aw.
out how you could tell that they were fertilized because it had the bullseye. And it was pretty easy to see.
That means you could hatch your own chicks now.
Yes, I can hatch my own chicks now. I probably will eventually because I would like to have just a handful more hens. I think one rooster is enough for now.
Yeah, depending on how many hens you hatch.
Yeah, depending on how many hens I hatch. Right now we have 10 hens and one rooster. And I think that that's an okay.
That's a perfect ratio.
Yeah. And the new ones won't be old enough to lay eggs until fall anyways. And I mean, not to be morbid or anything, but we do free range all of our chickens. So I'm thinking that we'll lose 2 or 3 of them over the span of the year because that's just the way that it seems to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of eggs, guess who's eaten eggs 3 days in a row and has not gotten sick?
You did?
Yep.
Yay!
Yay! That's my effing hooray.
I love it.
Yes. So it's funny because Elise posted something in the group. I think it was Elise about, hey, Sam, have you tried duck eggs? And it's yes, duck eggs still made me sick. But little did she know I was trying to eat them because I've had some McDonald's breakfast sandwiches a couple of weeks ago and then last week. And according to their website, their eggs are eggs and milk.
Yeah.
So they're real. Still fresh? Probably not. But they're real, and those didn't make me sick, so I've been experimenting the past couple of days. And yeah, so hopefully that means that I'm out of the woods. Maybe my body just didn't like them for a little bit. We took a little break, and now we can have eggs again, which is fantastic.
That's really exciting considering how many eggs you get on your farm.
Oh my gosh. And that is ticking up again too with, the days getting a little longer. It's insane.
Yeah. All it took was just getting into February and now it's just increasing exponentially.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we got today.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah. We'll talk to you next week.
We sure will. So drink,
farm,
and give 0 clucks. Bye, guys.
Bye.